Loading Up Podcast. Game on.
Perfect. Welcome to the Loading Up Podcast, where I am your co-host, Brother Zay, and tonight we have with us Producer J.
What's good, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good.
Nice. Let's get the shenanigans out the way. Let's talk about our sponsors. As you can see on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, we are sponsored by three special sponsors. W Energy, where you can use code LUP at checkout for 10% off. We're also sponsored by NordVPN. Links down in the description. If you click the link, you get 67 to 69% off of your 1 year or 2 year subscription. Absolutely great to have, especially for gamers, and just if you want to watch videos too. Like, it's really great to have a VPN.
Yes, I use it every day.
Yes, and you always tell us, and it's great. We're also sponsored by Starforge PCs, where you can get your custom built and or pre-built PCs right from Starforge. The links are down in the description. Click those, and we'll be happy to share with you guys all the updates from them. All right. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It is free to do.
Yes.
It is free. Absolutely free. Don't have to pay nothing. And we love you guys.
The best. You guys are the best.
Yes. All right. Producer J, talk to me, man. What have you been playing?
So it's been a while. I know we took a break last week, just, scheduling, and a lot of stuff came up. Life happened. Mm-hmm. But we're back, and I've been playing a lot, actually.
Ooh.
So in addition to the usual, Baldur's Gate 3, playing a little bit of Call of Duty here and there, playing Clair Obscur, obviously. I got back into it's why am I blanking on the name right now? It's Super Hot. There you go. Super Hot.
Yeah, good.
Not the first one. I beat the first one. The second one, Mind Control Delete.
Yes.
So it's funny because it's on Game Pass right now, but I actually had bought it a while ago. It was on sale, and I played it for a little bit, but then I just stopped playing. You know how I do.
Things come out. You want to pick up the new shiny stuff. I get it.
Yes. So I just recently I was trying to figure out more games I wanted to play at work, because I don't want to play the same game. I wanted to play something different every every day or something like that, just so that way I'm playing more stuff.
Okay.
So I was looking through my library, and I saw that Super Hot was on there, and I was just like, oh, but I bought that on Xbox. Apparently, it is a Play Anywhere title, and I had no idea.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I bought it. So, so I've been playing that a lot, and it's challenging. It's more challenging than I thought, because I remember playing the first game, and I kind of went through that in a freaking a weekend or something like that. It wasn't the biggest game, obviously, but no, it's really it's a good challenge, and I like it. It's very different. It's more of it's not, because I remember the first one, it was more kind of story based. This one is, but it's more you go through levels.
Yeah, and puzzle. It's like an action puzzle.
Yeah, action puzzle game. So so I've been playing that. I also just recently started playing Zao Tales of
Tales of Kanzara.
Yeah, there you go. Because it came on Game Pass and through EA Play, and so I started playing that, and it runs perfectly on my ROG Ally, so I might be playing that on my work breaks as well. And
I played it when it came out. Such a great game.
Yeah, just the intro got to me. The music is really good, and the voice acting. I just played just because I was downloading it, and I just played maybe 10 minutes of it, and that was enough to be okay, this is pretty good. Yeah, and the graphics are good. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
It's a definitely special game that everybody should play, especially since it's on Game Pass. Check it out. It's Zao Tales of Kanzara. I highly recommend it.
Yes, definitely. And I remember when it came out, a lot of people were talking about it. So definitely looking forward to playing that more often.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. What you been playing?
Oh man, I've been playing. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, it's my recording of um Doom: The Dark Ages, which I'm over halfway through now officially. I think you see like my first 2 or 3 chapters that I played. But man, Doom: The Dark Ages is fun. It is exactly what you expect. You know, you're out there killing demons and it's fun. I'm having a lot of good times with it.
Yeah.
Little performance issues because it kept crashing, but you know they did a hot fix and they fixed it. It was like it only crashed once on me, so it wasn't too crazy.
Okay.
But other than that, I really like it. I like it just as much as I did Eternal in 2016. So it's just a good action game, and of course, you know you can't go wrong. It's software. They did a good job.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I there's been a lot of like mixed feelings about it. Um a lot of people like they're praising it, but then other people are saying like, "Oh, it feels slow." And it's like
it really
I don't
does.
know.
I don't know
No,
what these people
that's
are
yeah,
talking
because
about.
I'm looking at the gameplay even now, like, and I'm seeing like, what are they talking about? It being
Like I
slow.
I do slow it down because I'm looking for like secrets and stuff. But like I've been playing through it. I'm like chapter 13 out of 22, and the game is fast. The action is fast. Yeah, it has parts after you kill all the damn demons and when you gotta get to your next point. But other than that, the action is fast. It's shooting. It's just madness going on. I don't know what people are talking about. Like it's slow. Like
Yeah, I don't
I
get it
don't get
either.
I don't get it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't please everybody. People are gonna complain. So
Yeah, that's
I
true. And this is an Xbox game, so you
oh
gotta
yeah,
throw
yeah,
a
man.
sprinkle in that Xbox tax.
Definitely an Xbox. Yeah, but I also beat Expedition 33.
Oh, you beat it. Okay.
I beat it. Yes. So
I do want to say I saw a clip. I don't know what the context was or whatever. Like it was a boss battle. I don't know if it was like the final boss. There was one battle where the freaking guy was like doing like
yeah,
15 attacks in a row,
yeah,
and
that's
the
a
guy was
optional
trying to
battle.
like, oh, it's optional. Okay,
Yeah,
because then the guy was trying to like parry every single one, and then they missed the last one, and
yes,
then they died.
yeah. 'Cause it's one shot. That boss,
Yeah.
one shot boss. If you don't parry or dodge, you're screwed.
Damn.
You die.
I'm not looking forward to getting to that
Yeah.
part.
I mean, that's completely optional. You have to like really level up a lot in order to like be strong enough to actually fight him anyway. But the game was fantastic. Let me tell you, you are not ready.
I know. Trust me. I was even struggling in the beginning part. Now I'm like pretty like confident. I still don't even have like the fourth party member.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I
you're
still haven't got
early
there
on.
yet.
Yeah, like not just how difficult some of the fights can be, but also the story. You're just not ready. If you think you're ready, you're not ready at all.
I
Like
mean that freaking prologue got me, and I'm like, I it's been a while, and I said this before when I played it. Like it's been a while since like a game has made me like tear up,
yeah,
and that was the one that got me. Like I don't know what it was. It was just like everything was culminating all together, like the music and the voice acting and the graphics. It was just it all lended to it being an emotional like impact. And I know I've heard that it gets worse or like more
yeah.
impactful.
Yeah,
So
no, you're gonna cry.
I probably am. Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna feel all the feels, and
Yes.
it was a great game. The first act, the epilogue to the first act is a decent size, but Act Two is the biggest and largest, I believe, in terms of story.
Yeah.
Because once you finish Act Two, you can immediately go to the end. You can go right to
Oh.
the end and beat the game, or you can, explore a little bit more, level up, go to like an endless tower and keep going. Um, I didn't do any of that. I'm not a big grinder. Like if a game has grinding to level up in the game, I don't tend to do that. So, I just went after finishing Act Two, and I admit I took a break. I took a 24-hour break before I needed a break. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that you see and you find out. And then I came and I went and I beat it. It was great. I love the story. There are multiple endings depending on your choice. It was one of those.
Okay,
Um, no spoilers for me, so don't
of
worry about
course.
that. I absolutely loved it. Fantastic. It is, and let me tell you this, it is neck and neck with Split Fiction on my game of the year. I don't know what to pick.
Oh man, this is gonna be tough this year.
Yeah.
With GTA out the way, it's gonna be tough to choose who actually will actually pick up the game of the year. The
Yeah. I mean,
nominees, honestly, the nominees is like the easy part. Like picking who gets to be the winner is easy, but picking the winner is gonna be hard.
yeah, it definitely is. And I'm glad Expedition 33 lived up to the hype, to realize that small studios, can make such amazing games. Although it's this generation, it's held on the backs of the indie developers out there,
Oh
to
yeah,
so as not surprising, but also refreshing to have such a great game with great storytelling, great music, and it just be amazing, from a small team.
yeah, and it goes to show, and this will come into a topic that we get into later, that you don't need to just throw money at a game. This game was made by 30 developers of a core team of 30 developers, and the game is $50, and it's on Game Pass. So it's like it defies all the talking points that the internet likes to throw at you. Oh, like rising video game costs. Oh, like you have to have all the glitz and glamour. You have to put it has to be expensive. It has to be AAA if you want it to look this good and stuff like that. Like it it breaks all the barriers, and I'm so happy that it's successful. Because it's
Yeah,
one thing to be a good game, it's another thing to be successful, and it's both.
it's
So
both, exactly.
I'm really happy that it's showing up in a time where we really need it, you know? Because there's so many games that are becoming more expensive, and we're talking about freaking spending $100 plus on games now
Don't
potentially, and it's
don't
like,
even dare.
I mean, I'm not, I don't want to talk about it, but it's getting there. Freaking blame Nintendo, they started it. But yeah, I'm glad they can show that it's possible, you know? So
Definitely.
hopefully other publishers and developers can take note. You don't need to make a freaking super expansive open world RPG with like 300 developers. Like you don't need all that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, that's all I've been playing. I guess we could jump right into the news. We got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Let's start with the first story. EA, Electronic Arts. Uh, an email has leaked. CEO Andrew Wilson is telling all their employees, effective immediately, everybody's full return to office. No more remote working, no more remote hiring. Everybody's back into the office. And they are not happy.
Yeah,
they
clearly.
they are not happy. They had sort of a hybrid where you do like 3 weeks or 3 days in the office, and the rest not. So that's gone too. It's a lot of changes over at EA. And I'm just wondering, does that mean that they're gonna be making more games faster, harder? Would the crunch be
Yeah.
back in office? Like what really is gonna happen? It's a lot of unknowns. But if you're working for EA, you're a developer with them, you gotta go back to the office.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. Like as we've seen, like it's taking longer and longer for games to release. Like it used to be like maybe 2 or 3 years was the norm. Now it's like 5 or 6, if that, and it's getting longer. And I think that's partially why they want people back in the studios, because I guess in their mind they're thinking like, oh, if they're here, they can work more, and obviously, like you said, crunch. They can implement it more, and it's easier to get people to stay than to work overtime at home. And I don't know how the logistics work and stuff like that, but ultimately, this is not good for morale, obviously, because you're asking people to who have gotten used to their schedules to just figure it out. Like there's people with kids who had a schedule going and a system in place. I know from personal experience that like if there were any changes to like my schedule, like if they asked me, "Oh, you're coming in like 2 hours early," that would completely like
Yeah,
change
your
my
whole
like
life.
yeah, like I would have to figure shit out. Like that's a lot to ask of people. And it's crazy that they're just asking like again, we don't know. We're speculating that that's what it's called, but you're asking people to basically uproot themselves and put themselves in a hard position because you want to make more money, and that's really shitty. Like ultimately, when you break it down, it's really shitty. But again, they're working for EA, so it's like, I mean, you kind of have to expect this stuff when it comes to working for like that kind of publisher. Um, I'm not trying to like justify it or anything like that, but it's like you probably should have seen this coming.
Yeah.
But it really does suck either way, and hopefully they're able to figure it out. I don't know, like, well, if they were able to commute before, like maybe they'll just
I mean, no, people
shift.
in the article specifically, they IGN reached out because the article's for IGN originally, and
Yeah.
IGN reached out to some of the developers, and anonymously they were talking about how it's now they have to uh travel,
You
really
have to
far
spend
just
more on
to work.
traveling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they EA did kind of sort of predict some things that would happen with that, and they're introducing like a new 30-mile rule, or 48-kilometer radius around EA locations. And it means employees who live within 30 miles of an EA location will transition to a hybrid work mode, and employees who live around the 30-mile radius will be considered remote unless their role is designated on-site or hybrid. So they have some caveats if you live
Okay.
really far away.
Okay. Yeah, because
So
I was wondering too, because like that's one thing to like you're basically asking people to start traveling more, which that means more gas and I
yeah,
don't know, depending on like where they're at, maybe more parking. They have to pay for parking. Like that adds up, and they're not getting paid more for that. So yeah, I
yeah,
remember when I used to like commute by car to work, and that was a nightmare. And I can't imagine having to go more days having to do that when you already counted or accounted for the days that you already had to commute. Now you gotta have to commute every day, and it's like that's a lot.
yeah, it is. It is. Lots of people were saying like it just doesn't make sense simply because like a lot of the software development and a lot of coding can all be done remotely. You don't need to be
Right.
in the office space to do it. So like, what's the point? I mean, if that's the case, if you can't manage a team remotely, you can't manage a team in person. What is going to change for you? You
Yeah,
know,
I think it's just the old school mentality of just like having people there, like will get people to work more. Like I don't know.
statistically proven that you
I
people
know.
are more productive at remotely.
Right. That's what I don't understand. Like it's an old school mentality that
Yeah,
you're here to work. You're in the office. You can do the stuff in the office. Like, but if you can do it at home, like what difference does it make? Like I do that all the time. Like even my job is not like computer based, but it's like I can if I like let's say if I'm editing something like for the TikTok or whatever, I can use my phone to like remote to my PC to get the files so that way I can do it on my commute. It's just like you can do all that stuff remotely. It doesn't have to be in the office. Like I don't know what the point of being in the office directly is if you can just remote in, Like they have tools for that stuff.
yeah. I mean, definitely COVID changed a lot, and it changed some for the better. But then now the people wanted to come back. It's just like we're at an odd time. I swear the timeline shifted somewhere.
Yes, it definitely did.
All right, let's continue on. We have rumors of not rumors, sorry. Jade Raymond, a legendary developer who founded Haven Studios in 2021, has left the company without a public reason being made clear. She departs the company, it says, as prepared to release a debut title, a multiplayer shooter named Fair Games. So Fair Games, she built the company and then started working on this studio, or this game, Fair Games, for a while, and all of a sudden she just up and left. And
Yeah, it's
nobody knows why. It's very odd.
very odd.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't understand, I mean, obviously
There,
PlayStation's the parent company to Haven. Um nobody's commented on it. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows if she just left for another company, but then we would have maybe known by now. We still don't know why she left. This was last week and we still don't know. So people are wondering what's going on with Fair Games first. And then what's going on at Haven Studios?
yeah, I think so. There was rumors that a few weeks ago, or maybe it was like a month ago or something like that. They
Mhm.
did like an internal testing for Fair Games,
Okay.
and like at like Sony executives came in to test Fair Games, and then a few weeks later she left. So it's like
Yeah.
very peculiar timing for that stuff.
Yeah.
Granted, we don't know if she quit, she was fired. We don't know, and we probably won't know for a while.
Yeah.
But the timing is very conspicuous, you know? Like why would she leave at a time like that? The game is not even they haven't even like announced a release date or anything like that. Why would she leave right now? You
It's a
know?
lot. It's a lot of
And
craziness going on over like with Sony and all their studios. A lot of things going on.
yeah, and always surrounding the live service aspect. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
strange that like they just can't get it right. Like there's always something going on in regards to like their live service games, as we'll talk about later with Bungie. It's just very weird that Sony is just like mired in controversy whenever it comes to their live service aspirations. Like we had Concord before, now we got this. We got Marathon. Like what is going on over there? Like why can't they just get it right?
I don't think they even know, and I think that's the problem.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So we'll definitely keep an eye out and see what happens. With
Yeah, and what does this mean? They changed the name. Before it was Fair Games with a dollar sign at the end. Now
yeah,
they changed it to just Fair Games with no dollar sign. I don't know if
yeah,
that means anything, but why change it? Like, I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. We have to just wait and find out for more information.
Right.
And speaking of Sony's live service games, one of the live service games that did absolutely fantastic, Helldivers 2, developer Arrowhead Game Studios has confirmed that it will be fully self-funded its next project. So obviously the studio's current priority is to fix and to sort of make Helldivers 2 better because it did go through a big slump after
Uh,
its initial very popular, very successful release. They just had a new DLC come out that was free, and it's being received very well within the community. But a lot of people were talking about how Helldivers 2 was just PlayStation and PC, and it wasn't going to come to Xbox, and it wasn't going to go like on the Switch or anything like that. It was just going to be on PC and PlayStation. So with this development, the next game is fully self-funded. They're not tied down to any publisher, being tied down to PlayStation. With Helldivers 2, that means that they'll just be even more successful if they have a really good game on their hand for their next title, because they're not being held down by a PlayStation exclusive deal.
yeah, and I think this is ultimately better for them because it seemed like they wanted to, because based on the whole like fiasco with the PSN requirement stuff,
Yeah.
it was very obvious that their hands were tied with that,
Yeah.
and it was a Sony thing that they wanted to mandate,
Yep.
and they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to have any requirements that would hinder potential players from wanting to play the game. But
I mean,
Sony didn't care.
that one requirement eliminated the game from being able to be played in like 180 something countries,
Right,
which is
right. And
ridiculous. Why would
I
you limit so many different places to play your game?
yeah, I think they I don't want to speak for them obviously, but it feels like they found a loophole in the system to delay the implementation of that. And basically, uh, again, I'm assuming it feels like they did it to show Sony that they shouldn't do this because they knew that their game was going to be successful, or they had a strong feeling that it was going to be successful and that they didn't want to have any hindrance to that. And then Sony just did it anyway later. So I think they saw that, and granted, there's no indication that they had any issues with like Sony directly. Like
No,
I'm sure they were a good partner in terms of like communication and funding and stuff like that. But obviously Sony's gonna implement their stuff. So like they can't really do much about that, you know? This is their game, it's their IP. So Arrowhead just kind of has to roll with the punches. But I do think that their relationship is still intact. I don't think
oh
that
yeah, for sure,
yeah, we're not. We're probably gonna get a Helldivers 3 eventually. You know,
which would
um,
be everywhere.
it should be. But yeah, the fact that their next game is gonna be self funded and it's gonna be by them for them, you know, everything, and it's likely gonna be on every platform, is a
Yeah.
good thing. And hopefully, they can take what they've learned from like the Helldivers 2 stuff because they did grow. Like the difference between Helldivers 1 and Helldivers 2 is drastic.
Oh yeah, big
Um,
difference.
yeah, and I'm hoping that they took what they learned in that transition, and hopefully their next game will benefit from it, and
For
hopefully it could
sure.
be something even better. Because Helldivers 2 was great. I do think if Sony was smart, they would still bring it to other platforms, including like the Switch 2 or Xbox. But you know that has yet to be uh seen, or if Sony will ever do that. But
And
um
that's despite the community wanting help
right,
from Xbox Play, because Helldivers works like the story itself is not a real story. It's made by the community, and it works only if you have players. And after the whole fiasco with the PlayStation login, a lot of PC players, which was the majority of players, they left. So
right.
it left sort of this void, and it left the community that was still there wanting people to play it. And they were like, "Bro, let Xbox have it so we can have some backup," you know? And it was just like, why wouldn't they? Arrowhead would make money, Sony would make money. At the end of the day, that's what these companies want. They want money.
Yeah, and
They want our money.
yeah, and I think that that type of ideology is going to become more evident, and we'll talk about it in another story about Sony's aspirations.
Yeah,
They're only going to be able to do that if they release on more platforms.
for
So
sure.
I think Helldivers was kind of like the first instance of having to, or not having to, but putting it on more platforms being beneficial.
Yep.
Because I could kind of see like maybe they don't want to do it for, you know, the big single player titles and stuff like that. But with Helldivers 2 is a multiplayer title. And if you want the most people or the most monthly active users, which is what they're trying to go for, then you're gonna have to release it everywhere, you know? It makes more sense that way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll go right into it because
Right.
it ties into it. Like Sony's is now gonna start prioritizing monthly active users over direct sales now. But you know they're not doing too hot with the live service now, as we can see between all Fair Games and Marathon Fiasco and Helldivers 2's taking a dip. But they just had like their PlayStation just had like their big um quarterly earnings call, and um the selling units was the main focus of the past, but now they want to shift focus to monthly active users, simply because that's where they see the engagement and that's where they see profitability within the company. So yes, PlayStation has had a peak of 124 million monthly active users, which is a lot. That's a lot of people, and
Yeah.
they can shift the focus, see the monthly active users, and be profitable off of that. If you change the mindset of how things are going, instead of just sales, sales are dipping, you don't have to worry about that because your monthly active users are up and they're spending more money and they're making you more money. So shifting their focus from, we sell this many consoles to, we have this many players and monthly active users, they can really be more profitable. And which is crazy because they are very profitable within the gaming space.
Yeah.
know,
I
so
think ultimately it comes down to the fact that their consoles are not selling as much as they need to, because when you look at their sales, or like not even just their sales, their like their quarterly earnings and stuff like that, they just reported some just recently where for the first time in a long time, their hardware sales were actually down. Like I think it was like 8% or something like that.
yeah, I think it
It
was
was
in
around. What's that?
I think it was in April where they were down and actually Xbox was up a little bit.
Yeah, it was very odd to see, but it just goes to, and granted they did project this, so they know that hardware sales are going to dip because they're, and I've said it before, and I don't get why people just don't want to see it. They're selling to the same people, the same audience, because the same amount of people that are buying PS4s and Xbox Ones are the ones that buying Series X's and PS5s, are the same people that bought PS3s and 360s. Like it's the same like player pool, because the generation that grew up with consoles are the ones buying them.
Yeah.
But the newer generations are not buying consoles at the same rate as we did. So like
Why
even
would
now, like what's up?
I mean, why would they?
Yeah, especially like
Free to play,
when
Roblox.
yeah, when all the big games like you said, Roblox, Fortnite,
Lit-
Warzone, they're all available on every platform. And even like Fortnite and Roblox, they're on like mobile. They just re-released Fortnite back on iOS.
Yep.
So that those numbers are going to go up. So it's like there's no reason to even like invest in those consoles anymore, at least for the newer generation. And it also doesn't help, not that it doesn't help, but it also um like with the younger generation, they're watching more YouTubers and stuff like that. They're playing on PCs. So they're going to want to mimic their favorite YouTubers and get PCs. So it's like the tide is shifting in terms of what is desirable to the newer gaming audiences, because the like our generation, we're still buying consoles and stuff like that, and even maybe like the generation after, but the newer generation, they don't even care about consoles. Like I ask my kids, like yeah, they play on the Xbox, but that's just because I got it for them. Like they
Yeah.
mainly play on their iPads. um so it's a change in the industry, and I think Sony is finally realizing that this is something that Xbox seen years ago, and that's why they started porting everything everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they saw the
The
writing on the
writing was on
wall.
the wall. Yeah, exactly. The writing's on the wall. Jinx, knock on wood. The writing was on the wall back in like 2015, 2016, and then they
Yeah,
shifted and put everything on PC and Xbox because they knew, they saw it. Microsoft is a data-based company. They have the data to see this. This is why they're always ahead of the curve when it comes to like exclusives not being exclusives anymore, and just software, and live service. They're ahead of the game because they see all this within their data.
yeah, and I think now finally Sony is starting to realize that they can't continue to base their profitability off of hardware, because hardware is just a means to an end. The main goal is software. And the only way to bring up software is if you have it available on as much platforms as possible.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
think about it. Sony can release like The Last of Us remastered, the one that has like both of them.
mhm.
They can release that Ultimate Edition on Xbox along with God of War 2018 and Spider-Man, the first one. They release those games on Xbox, they'll be raking in the money.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
they would rake in the money. I don't understand why they wouldn't.
Yeah,
These
they
you want money? Do you want money? Here, put this over there.
they
You'll just
can
make money.
yeah, they can use the same strategy that they're using for PCs, where it's just older games. They can put, like you said, God of War 2018. They can put Spider-Man, the first one, not even the other ones, just the first one. They could put Ratchet and Clank. They could put Returnal. They could put all the old games on Xbox, even Switch 2. And that will cost them pennies on the dollar compared to like what it cost them to like when they first released it, and it will sell millions. And
Yeah.
that's the point, because ultimately it doesn't matter if it's older games or not, because people already got to experience those games on PlayStation hardware. Now you're getting the opportunity, or other people are giving the opportunity to try it. And maybe they switch over, maybe they get a PS5 to play the new game. But the point is not to like make that the focus. It's to get more money. Even Shu Yoshida himself, he said the remakes and the PC ports are like printing money. So
Yeah.
if you want to support Sony and you want to support more games, go buy them. But
Yeah.
obviously, if you're trying to sell it to the same people that played it already, it's a harder sell. Like they already played it. Why would they want to play it again? So I think Sony's starting to realize that, and you got to sell it to a new audience. That's the point.
I mean, yeah,
So
think about this. Their game of the year, Astrobot, right? Astrobot 2. That game only sold like 2 million copies on PlayStation, right? Where there's 124 million active users. That's a very tiny percentage. Imagine if you release it on PC. Just on PC, not saying Xbox. Release it on PC, boom, your numbers go sky high. You'll easily have an additional 5 million people playing it. That's
exactly, yeah,
just money. That's all money. That's all profit right there. So because let's face it, PlayStation gamers, they don't really buy games that much. They're on 2K, Call of Duty, Fortnite, or Apex. They're on the free to play games. And that's
right.
that's everywhere. A lot of people play the free to play games. And so they don't see that much sales compared to monthly active users for their major games like God of War, Spider-Man, or Astrobot 2. They can release those games on other platforms and make a ton of money. Like, I don't understand why a company whose main goal is to make money and have big profits, why aren't they
It's
making money and have big profits by just doing this?
it's ultimately it's pride. Like they've done this the same way for decades, and that's why they don't want to change it now.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like throw shade or anything like that, because like I mean, I don't know business and stuff like that, but from my perspective, Japanese companies tend to work on I don't want to say like a they're more personal. They take things more personally than like American companies do. So the way they operate is different than how you would logically think. Like, oh, if you're trying to make money, why wouldn't you try to do what you need to do to make money? No, they have like a set way of doing things.
Yeah, the traditions.
Traditional. Yeah, they're very traditional in terms of how they do business. But I think that's starting to change now, because their their shareholders are not seeing the numbers go up. So, or
I
at
mean,
least they're seeing
after,
it go up, but not as much as they want it to, you know? And that's the difference between like with Xbox, where they started to change things. And yeah, the hardware sales have been going down, but if you look at the software revenue and the gaming revenue, it's always gone up. It hasn't gone down once over the
yeah.
past few years. There's a reason for that. Yeah, they sacrificed the hardware, but like people are gonna stay where they want to stay, like that. And that I keep like talking about that. It's like there's a reason why people stay with iPhone or they stay with Android, because despite like there's no exclusivity there, especially now with iPhone finally adopting RCS. Like there's really no reason to own one phone over another. You just pick what you want. Like that's ultimately what it boils down to, and that's what people will do. People will get PlayStation if they like PlayStation. People will get Xbox if they like Xbox. So it really doesn't matter. And I think Sony is hopefully starting to realize like people are already entrenched in the in their PlayStation libraries that they're not just gonna up and leave. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like they got like freaking like hundreds of games already bought on PlayStation. You really think they're gonna just abandon that just to get on Xbox? Xbox? No, that's silly. You shouldn't expect them to do that. But if you want to grow, you gotta expand somehow, and that's what they've been doing for PC, and they gotta just do it more because the PC rate they've been making like strides in there, like with Helldivers, but they need to ramp that up. And if that means porting to even more, they tried it with Switch with Horizon Lego Horizon. Maybe they have the data that shows that maybe that was successful, maybe it wasn't. But they need to keep trying because ultimately that's going to be the future. You got to release everything everywhere. That's the point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got to make up for Concord, the $400 million waste, and the best thing they can do. You just release 2 games. Listen here, Sony. Listen real close. Release 2 of your biggest games, God of War and Spider-Man, on Xbox. I guarantee you'll make up your money. There you go. That's free advice from Brother Zay.
There you go. Honestly, I think they don't even they can like stagger it out. The way like Xbox has been doing their PlayStation releases, they can stagger it out. They can do they can honestly start with like Ratchet and Clank, and then they could do like Helldivers because those are like they can do Helldivers because that's the most requested one, and then Ratchet and Clank is kind of like like a test or whatever, and then start doing other games. And maybe they could do Uncharted. They don't have to do the Uncharted collection. Do Uncharted 1. Like, why not? I just don't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, why not? It like I said, it costs pennies on the dollar to port this stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they have porting studios as well. So
exactly. I just think that's the path forward, and hopefully we'll see more of that going forward. But
we will. Time will tell. We will definitely have more games coming forward. It's just gonna take a little bit longer for Sony to realize that.
Like I said, but before Sony is doing what Xbox did like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're on a 10-year delay. So we'll see it eventually.
Yeah. Speaking of Xbox, there was reports that it was rumors and leaks about the next Xbox is going to be running on ARM, Snapdragon chips and Snapdragon chipsets. So there was a lot of rumors going around. People were wondering, is this true? Is it going to be more powerful? What's going to happen? That's more of a mobile chip. Snapdragon is the chipsets that are used in a lot of Samsung phones. So they're like, what's going to happen? So we have some confirmation here over from Windows Central, Ajaz Corden. He says that the recently exclusively shared, shared Xbox is working on Project Keenan in partnership with Asus, and he believes that these rumors about the Snapdragon and ARM chips will be for the handheld, not for the main console. So he dispelled some of that rumors out there that were going around for like the main console is going to be mobile centric, which I can see, but also wouldn't make any sense. So yeah, those rumors came and went, and we have confirmation that they're still working on the next Xbox. They're also working on the handheld, and we even got a glimpse into what chips, the Snapdragon chips, what they'll be using, and that tells us a lot.
Yeah, no, I think definitely this essentially proves that Xbox is going like they're gonna do the multi-SKU thing like they did this gen with the Series X and S, but the S model I think is gonna be the mobile version because I think they seen how popular like the Steam Deck could be, and obviously the Switch and stuff like that. Mobile gaming is essentially making a comeback, and I think Microsoft and Sony, because they're also rumored to make a proper PlayStation Portable, not a Portal, a PlayStation Portable.
Yeah, proper.
Yes, that's gonna be like compatible with like full games and stuff like that. Um, I think that's what they're gonna go for. They're gonna go for the home console and then the portable console. So that way people are more inclined to buy both because they want to be able to play games at home and play games at like on the go, which is me because I do that. That's why I got a ROG Ally. So I think they're trying to corner that market and use that as a way to branch into other markets. Because if you know that um, the Japanese market is almost completely mobile, like or mobile or PC. Like there's like home consoles are very like niche in Japan, even for PlayStation. So like I think they're trying to use that as a way to kind of get into those markets. Not, I mean that's just Japan. Obviously, also like all the other like Asian countries and even like the Middle East and like India and stuff like that. They're not really traditional with consoles. Like they're more like playing mobile games and stuff like that. So I think they're trying a different strategy now, and it might work out for them because if everything is compatible with like the mobile game and or the mobile console and the home console, then that just makes it more beneficial for someone to buy both, because why wouldn't you want to play the games on the go? Even I mean, you saying like you've said before, like you don't really see the appeal just because you don't really play games on the go,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people that do. Like for me, example, like or like if I want to play like while my wife is watching something on TV, like just like little instances like that, people will do that. Like I've seen it so many times where people say they do that. And even for like when you go over to a friend's house and like you want to play like a game like multiplayer, but it's not split screen, you can just bring your handheld and just play it on there. So like there's a lot of use cases for it. So I think that's what they're going for, and that's what the whole ARM thing is for. I don't think that's gonna be for the full-fledged
Like their flagship.
their flagship powerful console or whatever ends up being hybrid PC, whatever. But that's gonna be um the mobile platform that they plan on. And that's not Project Keenan, what we said before. Like that's a partnership with Asus. That's something different. And I think that's gonna kind of be like the stopgap or maybe like the test to
Yeah, the
see.
test. Yeah.
Yeah, to see how people respond to something like this. And then they'll use that information to further develop whatever uh mobile platform they decide to release, because I do think that this will also support that mobile web store that they're trying to release that they haven't yet.
And they're still working on.
Yeah, they're still working on. It's been delayed like indefinitely. So
Yeah.
but yeah, time will tell. We're supposed to be seeing what Project Kenan is supposed to be very soon, because they did tease it. And then there was a, what was it, Computex, I think it's called, where Asus was gonna be at, but they didn't say anything. So
Yeah, it's
who
all very
knows?
honest. They thought everybody was gonna see something, but no, they didn't.
Yeah, so maybe they're saving it for the June showcase. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense if that's the case, but we'll be finding out soon what that's all about, and we'll get a clear picture of what Xbox plans
Yeah.
are. But ultimately, like it's not what people are assuming. It's gonna be all right. We're still getting the traditional home console, or I wouldn't say traditional. We're still getting a home console.
Yeah. Definitely. Let's keep going for more Microsoft news. We have Microsoft announced it's waiving its fees involving with signing up and submitting an app for listing on the Microsoft Store on Windows 10 and 11. So starting in June, it will be free for individuals to get their apps into the Windows App Store for the first time. They announced it at the developer conference last week. And Microsoft is the first tech giant with an active App Store platform to make it free for developers to sign up and submit their app store to the storefront. So they were originally charging developers a one-time fee of $19. Just to give you some comparison, Google currently charges a one-time fee of $25, and Apple charges annually $99.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Like that's crazy.
That is crazy.
So yeah, this is gonna just be a great stop for getting new apps to be able to showcase on an actual app store instead of being, bartered down with Apple or even Google because they have to pay so much. You can get a nice, good developer who's developing their new app and they want to release it, but they don't have the funds just yet. They'll just release it on the Microsoft Store so that way people can actually get to use these apps. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. They're sort of leading the charge and trying to change the industry a little bit so people could be more open to using the Microsoft app.
Yeah, no, this is good news for developers. I mean, even though the barrier for entry was already low, just eliminating it altogether is even better. And hopefully developers can like see this and take advantage of it, because I know Microsoft has been trying to grow their presence of their store. I know they've been making a lot of changes. It's not the best experience, but in my like when I've used it, it's not terrible. I do think they can use more changes, but if they don't get the feedback, then obviously they're not going to be able to get or implement those changes. But getting more people on the platform is the first step. So I think this is a good move for them and good move for developers too.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Let's we'll keep right on going. We got a lot to get to still. Let's talk about Borderlands 4 because Borderlands 4 was recently in the news. Talk about game pricing and all that. CEO had some words. Let's get into what he said. And so we'll just talk. Uh, Game pricing obviously went up. Nintendo came out. They're talking about raising the prices to $80. Then Xbox came out and said, "Yeah, we're gonna raise our game prices too by the end of the year." So a lot of these companies are going to start raising their prices to $80. And the CEO of developer Gearbox, which makes Borderlands games, told potential customers, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way and make it happen in terms of the $80 price tag. And yeah, that did not go over well, like at all.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
it did.
at all.
It was the worst thing that he could have possibly said.
Yeah, yeah. It was really bad. Lots of people were very upset. Obviously, he should have really just stated, "It's not my call," because it's really not his call how much a game somebody charges for the game. Even though he's the CEO of Gearsbox, it's up to the publisher. But it really should just be like, "It's not my call." Well, that's it. But no,
Yeah.
he just talk about like, "Oh, yeah, you'll find a way," which kind of
Yeah.
puts people off.
Yeah, I didn't understand why he took it that far. Like I get the first part where you said that it's not his call. It isn't. It's Takes Two's call. Like they're the ones who are charging or setting the prices for these games. But to and then he kind of doubled down afterwards where he was just like, back in my day, like when I wanted to buy a game, like I had to work a double at my job and stuff like. You don't want to tell people, because I remember way back when was it when the PS3 came out. Well, Kaz Hirai, that was his name. He was the head of PlayStation at that time. When they announced the price, it was at $600. And literally in the interviews afterwards, he said people will get a second job to afford the PS5 the PS3. And that was just that hurt PlayStation a lot.
Yeah, it hurt that generation for sure.
Yes, yeah, it set them back tremendously, that generation. And now to hear him say this, not Kazurai or Randy, to say this basically the same thing, like, oh, real fans. First of all, the whole real fans. I hate when people say that. If you're a real fan of this or you're a real fan, like fuck you. Like no, I don't care. There's no such thing as a real fan. You're either a fan or you're not. There's no such thing as a real fan. So I really, that put me off like to begin with, and then the whole thing about doing whatever you need to afford the game. And granted, he did like kind of walk it back afterwards, and
A
he
little bit.
kind of sort of apologized, although not really. He still shouldn't have said it. Like that was just a dumb thing to say, and it could have potentially put Borderlands like in a predicament, because people will react to this stuff.
Oh, they
They don't
have.
like. Well, yeah, no, they have, and it'll show in like the pre-orders and stuff like that. Regardless of how good the game is, um, people will take this and use it against you. And it was just a stupid thing to say. Um, Hopefully other developers will take this and learn from it. Just sometimes the less said, the better.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't have to go through all that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Now
I
all this.
can't
I mean,
believe somebody
sure.
said that.
Yeah, I mean, sure. It's they always say what bad PR or good PR doesn't matter. PR is PR. Everybody's looking at you. It doesn't matter. People are talking about you. But if it's particularly negative, people are gonna look at it negatively, and they're gonna paint Borderlands 4 with that negative picture. So it's not a good start.
Yeah. And then the whole thing about the whole real fans thing, the real fans are the ones who are like paying attention to this stuff. And you're basically calling them out and saying that, you know, do what you need to. Like you're gonna have to suck it up. And that's the problem. Like the casual fans who just like Borderlands or whatever, they're not gonna see this. They're probably just gonna buy it, and because they like Borderlands. But the quote unquote real fans are the ones who you're insulting by saying this.
Yeah,
So it's like it was just a negative all around.
yeah. Let's continue on. We got bad news with Fortnite and its AI Darth Vader that they just released. So if you've been living under a rock, Fortnite has come out with a new season, and it's all surrounding Star Wars, and it's been really fun to play. You get in there, you can have a lightsaber and force push, and force dark lightning and stuff. It's been really really fun. Everything is blasters. No more like everything's about Star Wars, and they decided to put Vader in with an AI voice that you can talk to, and it hasn't been going over well. There are a lot of clips online where people are making Vader say some really crazy things.
Yeah.
Uh, actually, a cousin of mine has a viral clip on Twitter of of Vader saying some crazy things.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it's actually hilarious. But yeah, so the big deal with this is that v- James Earl Jones did sign off to allow Disney to use his voice and his likeness for AI after he passed. But that was for Disney. This is Epic and Fortnite. And although they may have a partnership, uh does not necessarily mean that Epic can go ahead and use the AI James Earl Jones voice to do these type of things. So they're running into a lot of legal trouble right now with this AI Darth Vader stuff.
Yeah. I think it's a very peculiar situation that could have been avoided if they just like didn't just drop it, because like there was no announcement, no nothing, like there was no teaser or anything like that to get like fan interaction or like fan feedback about how they feel about this stuff. They just dropped it and it was just like, here we go. um at the end of the day, I'm it's tough because on the one hand, like you said, James Earl Jones and his estate did sign the rights to use his voice like for future Star Wars projects. But like, do you consider this a Star Wars project? Like, I don't know. It's a very gray area, and I my main concern, I mean, outside of like it being abused and having Darth Vader say the most ridiculous shit, um, I just hope that his family, James Earl Jones's family, is properly compensated, because that's ultimately what the strikes, the actors strikes were for.
Yeah, the SAG
Is
after
to
strikes.
The SAG after strikes were for, which are they're still going now for like the voice acting,
Yeah.
which is kind of ironic that we're talking about like a voice character, but um yeah, like that was the whole point around, well, not the whole point, but a big point was that they didn't want AI to be um what's the word? Uh they wanted proper compensation for like any use of like AI.
They want it
Like,
regulated. They didn't want it
yes,
to be like a Wild West out there.
exactly. And I think they they wanted basically to make sure that it wasn't abused, like where they can just do it whenever they want, and then the actors themselves just found out about it the same way the public did. Um, I don't know. I don't know like the legality behind this. So it's like it's really tough
Yeah.
to kind of like gauge like which side is right and which side is wrong. It really just depends on your feelings regarding AI. I think AI could potentially be beneficial in certain aspects, but then there's other aspects where it can be not so beneficial. Um, it's really just a case by case basis, and ultimately, I think it boils down to just if the family and his estate were properly compensated. If they were, then even if people don't like it, that's just how business rolls. Like he signed his voice off,
Yeah, but
and
he signed his voice off
he
to
signed it.
Disney.
He signed it to Disney, and
That's
Disney
like the
has
gray
final
area.
say. That right, exactly. That's the gray area. Disney has the ownership of it, and they're in a partnership with Epic, so they licensed it to Epic. So it kind of works out, but again, it really just depends on how you feel about AI. I know people hate AI, like altogether, full stop. They don't like AI, and even
Yeah.
now, like this is kind of off topic, but they just Google just released, what was it like? It's called VO3 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where you can like generate full videos that look almost realistic. Like it's very, very
It's
hard to tell.
really close.
Yeah, it's scary
It's
close.
scary. It's scary.
Yeah, it's
Because
getting to a point.
they released a video of a completely AI generated video of a what would be a YouTuber playing Fortnite.
Yeah,
And
and
it's not
granted,
even real, it's all AI.
yeah,
YouTuber, everything. It was crazy.
if you didn't know anything about Fortnite, you would have thought that's like a real thing. Because if you look at what's happening, you realize like nothing's really happening. So that's your sign that it's AI. But that's enough to confuse anybody, any average Joe. So yeah, I know AI is become a very like sensitive topic and stuff like that. But ultimately, again, it's really hard to pick a side on this one, because
Yeah.
I mean he did sign the likeness of his voice, and they did use it. They used it in what was it? Obi-Wan. Um the Obi-Wan show where they voice over um what's his name? The one who played
Hayden
Anakin.
Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. Yeah, they voiced over like Hayden Christensen's voice and like mixed it so that way you could like hear the distinction between them, and they kind of like mixed it when his mask fell off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like they've used it before. So I don't know. It's really it's a very sensitive subject, and I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about it ultimately. It's hard.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
it for like on the surface, it is pretty funny. I gotta say,
some of the
like
clips are absolutely hilarious.
yeah, just having. Also, it is kind of cool because like to see like Darth Vader talk about like freaking Goku and John
Or the next.
Cena, yeah, or just like it's just like the concept is cool, but the
Yeah.
implementation is just like, ugh, why, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. they're definitely going to work on it still, but like it's not for me to decide. You know what
I
I'm saying?
do ultimately.
I'm gonna go in there and use it though.
Yeah, no. I do think the concept is pretty. Like I said, having an AI be your partner is kind of like, why haven't they done this before? Like, why did it take this long to implement somebody having an AI as a partner in their party? You know,
Yeah. I
like
mean, it
if
has been done before in games, but it's terrible because technology wasn't there. But now technology is way more advanced, so they can do that now.
yeah, and then it reacts to like what you're doing, and it can give you pointers, being like, "Hey, look out, somebody's coming from the right," and stuff. Like that's that type of stuff. That's actually pretty cool. The fact that like I don't need to have. I mean, granted, it's kind of sad because it's like, oh, you don't got any friends, but if you can play with like a full party of AI, like in a 4-person squad, like that's pretty cool. Like, so it makes you feel like you're actually playing with people and they're actually talking back to you. So I get the idea behind it. It's just the whole like generative AI with the responses and stuff. It can be very icky, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think they gotta tread carefully as they go forward. I don't think they should like get rid of it, but they definitely need to like rein it in terms of the responses it can give.
And
Because
they have
yeah,
since it's released, they have, but they're still working on it. It's still new, so we'll be hearing more about what's gonna happen if they remove it or they keep it and just regulate it more.
right.
Yeah. All right, let's continue on. We're talking about PlayStation again. They're ending their Stars program, PlayStation Stars, which is their loyalty program where you can earn points for purchasing games and doing quests, and then use those points to buy things. They're ending it. Officially will be ended November 2nd, and they're not accepting any new members. And people who are currently enrolled can still earn and use their points all the way up until November of next year. Um, but July 23rd is when it's gonna end.
Mhm.
No more campaigns, no more quests to do to earn rewards. So your points are just gonna sit there until it officially ends, your points expire because apparently your points expire, which really sucks. That's why I'm really glad that Microsoft does the Xbox Rewards program because I can get a bunch of free stuff. Every sale comes around, I'm always getting games for free because of the reward stuff. It's
Yeah.
actually really great. And it sucks that PlayStation players are gonna now lose that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this program was half baked from the jump.
Wow.
No, I mean it's the truth because I signed up for it, and I thought it was gonna be similar to like the Microsoft Rewards, where you'll do specific things in specific games, and or just playing games in general, because that's how Microsoft Rewards work now. Like before, it used to be where you had to play specific games in order to get the points, but it was also tied to Game Pass, so it's like you already had access to those games. It wasn't like you had to buy them or anything like that. Where this, it wasn't even tied to the PlayStation Plus games. It was games that you had to buy. So like you had to buy them and then do the stuff to get the points, which kind of defeated the purpose. Like the whole point is to like do it for games you already had, or um the whole point was to spend less money. But it was just it was a mess, and the points didn't really like add up to much. Like I remember people were talking about that they only got like $5 or anything like that. Like that's, I mean, it's something, but it's really nothing. Like but honestly, I think the whole point of the program wasn't even supposed to be this. I think it was originally supposed to be a platform for NFTs
Oh
back when
no.
that, because you can get rewards. Like they gave like a freaking Jim Ryan bobblehead, remember? Like that it was a digital thing. Like that, I think
No.
I'm telling you. I think originally that was the purpose of this program, but when NFTs started to phase out, they had to pivot because they were kind of late on it. So they changed it to be like a rewards program. where you can get points for games and stuff like that. But then they realize like, oh, if we do this, that means we're getting less money. So let's not do this. So they just ended the program.
I mean, that's
It does suck ultimately. Like it's shitty for the consumer, for anybody who actually used it. But yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do?
yeah, exactly. What are you gonna do? Nothing.
Nothing. But it does make me appreciate the way like Microsoft rewards work. Like they could have ended that program a long time ago, but no, they changed it, they tweaked it because they do like the engagement. It does give them the data that they need. And that's because ultimately that's what Microsoft is. They're a data company. So like when they're doing this, it's not just to give money, it's to gain data and show them what like player tendencies are and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
they're using it for their benefit, but it's also benefiting us as consumers. But I think PlayStation, they didn't think that far. They just thought about it and that's it. But yeah, so it sucks, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck him. Let's move on because we got this quite a bit to talk about Marathon. Yes, and
Oh boy,
Marathon.
yeah, here we go.
The alpha came out, and with the alpha for Marathon, came some really weird news about how the game was played and what it felt like to play the game. But then on top of that, apparently, Marathon and Bungie was being accused by artists for plagiarism. They were using other people's artwork in the game, and those people were not part of Bungie's team at all. They were just independent artists, and it was a lot to take in because the game was already sort of getting not great reception, and then all of a sudden the accusations of plagiarism with their artwork. Surprisingly, Bungie came out and confirmed that they did find out that the plagiarism was real, that they did have artwork that was not theirs
Yeah.
in the game, and it was just like it was a whirlwind. It was a whirlwind of what's going on over at Bungie and what's happening with Marathon specifically. What do you think? What do you think about this whole plagiarism?
It's really interesting because Marathon wasn't really in my radar.
Yeah.
Like to begin with. I did want to like play a little bit of it, the alpha. I tried to get in, but obviously I don't know. There was some weird thing with the Discord. Like they said you had to like send a certain message, and then like you'll get a notification in your messages. But then I did that, and then I never got a message. So like I didn't know how that worked. But anyway, I did want to try it because I was very critical of it in the beginning, but I still want to see for myself how it played. And then I looked at the gameplay and I'm just like, it's okay. Like I don't think it's something that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people felt the same way. But then the whole plagiarism thing came out and it just shined a light on Bungie itself and how they conduct, because this is not the first time that something like this has happened to them.
Yeah.
And I think it's shining a very negative light on Bungie and how they go about their vetting process. Because how can something like this happen? Like it's one thing if something was used as a reference, but no, they had someone. Granted, they said it was a former employee, but they had someone like
they blamed it on a former employee.
yeah, but it was like wholesale, like taking it from what it was and copying it directly to the game itself. And then there was like visual proof that it was like something that was
Yes,
it
they
was
actually found proof that it was there.
right. So it's like, how does something like this even happen? Like, I don't know. And then like this whole thing, like it started to form into like a negative Bungie campaign about the leadership and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know where Bungie goes from here because it's just like they can never catch a break. And part of me wants to feel bad for them, but on the other hand, it's like this is like it's constant with this company. Like, why is Bungie so mired in controversy that they just like it's always something, you know? Like,
Yeah.
why can't they just release a game? Like, this goes to show that the Bungie that created Halo 1, 2, and 3 and Reach is long gone.
Oh,
Like,
big time, long
they are
gone.
not the same company.
Yeah.
And the Bungie that sold to PlayStation is not the same Bungie anymore. So like anybody that's saying like that obviously they hyped it up as the studio that created Halo is now on the PlayStation. Like, no, it's not that same studio, not even close.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't even know what happens with Marathon now because now
Well,
this negative light is starting to affect people's opinions about the game and which was already mixed. So now they're talking about delaying the game
yeah, there are
and
reports about them delaying the game. The Sony is likely to delay the game because Sony has canceled all paid marketing plans for Marathon, which is basically writing on the wall that they're delaying it. If they're
yeah,
not delaying it, they're canceling it completely. And I've said this
I
before. We talked about it before in the group chat a little bit. I I called it last week when these art plagiarism came out. It's not gonna be delayed. I feel like ultimately it will be canceled. Marathon will likely be canceled, and I think that may be it for Bungie. I think Bungie will be, absorbed into the Sony studios, and that's it. Bungie will be gone. I hate to say it, because we
that'll
have that like fond memories of Bungie, creating these amazing games, but it's a shell of its former self, and I think moving forward, we're not gonna have Bungie anymore.
yeah, that's so like I get like why you're saying it and it makes sense, but it's just like the idea of like Bungie closing is such like that's depressing.
Yeah.
Like that's like if Microsoft decided to shut down freaking well like id um, or yeah the coalition or something like that like they've been around for so long
Yeah. But
and
that
have
doesn't mean that it's great. I think
no I
Sony
know
is
but
in the thick of this deal. They paid $3.7 billion. Bungie came in, canceled most of their live service games, and then
that's
bring out Marathon, and it's shit.
yeah that's the part that gets that gets me is that they brought in Bungie to be basically the consultant for their live service aspirations and then they couldn't even like get it right. So it's
Yeah,
like maybe they should have let factions to like live. Maybe they should have let it just release and continue development. But like Bungie said no. So it's just so it's such a mess.
it really is. It is absolute mess. And where do we go from here? We got the report of potential delay. Now, like, I honestly, I really do see the writing on the wall. Bungie is gone. I don't. I. It sucks to say this, as a consumer. It sucks to
I
say this.
I
Bungie's
I
gone.
I think it's a little premature to say Bungie's gone because they still have Destiny. So, which is kind of still, a popular thing for them. I don't think Bungie goes away. I think after Marathon releases, whenever they decide to releases, that's when we'll know what the fate of Bungie is. Because they will still have the Destiny IP, and
Yeah.
that's a big IP. Because I think because the whole thing behind the PlayStation deal was that Bungie retains like autonomy, like they can do whatever like they see fit. That's why Marathon is releasing everywhere. So, um it's going to be hard to like close it down because then what happens with Destiny? Does that get released? Does that get sold off? Like does Sony retain that? Like I don't know. I think uh there's a lot of questions that come after if they decide to close Bungie, which I don't think they want to deal with. Um, I think honestly, if Marathon ends up being a failure, I think they just release Bungie and just let them be independent again. I think closing the studio would be very detrimental to the business, and it would be a very big black eye for Sony because they paid so much for them. I think they're probably going to try and like salvage them as much as possible for as long as possible, because it hasn't even been like, it's only been like what, 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't even been like a significant amount of time, and they're already gonna close them down like that.
I mean,
They haven't even
Sony did-
released. They haven't even released a game yet. That's the thing. Like, if they release like maybe 1 or 2 games, fine, but not even one game. Like,
I
I
mean,
think
they closed down Sony, meaning Sony closed down PlayStation Studios in London. One of their biggest studios, they closed it down. And they brought out massive games, great games. You know, what makes you think they won't just get rid of Bungie? They put them in a hole.
I mean, I think Bungie put themselves in a hole. To be fair,
No, yes, but
I
like
think Sony just
Bungie-
inherited that hole.
yes, Bungie itself put itself in a hole, but Bungie put Sony in a hole by canceling all their games, all their potentially
True.
good games. You know, so Bungie put Sony in a hole. You know, so yeah, there are a lot of holes, but somebody's got to give. I think Sony's gonna end up being like, no, that's it. You're done. We'll take what remaining developers, we'll absorb them into other studios that we have, and we'll continue on.
I think we still have to wait for Marathon to release before we decide, or before we see if it's even worth closing
If it
Bungie.
releases.
If it releases, true. But
If it releases.
in fairness, they did release Concord. That shouldn't have released, but they did release it. So
Maybe they learned and won't release Marathon.
maybe true, maybe. Yeah,
crazy.
I think Marathon has to release first in order for us to decide what happens with Bungie. Because I mean, maybe they can take everything, all the criticisms, and because that's one thing Bungie has been known for, is to take the criticisms of their fan base, even like with Destiny, and hopefully like change things up and deliver on what their players are asking for.
Your hope is
I
inspiring.
know I'm being optimistic.
You're being very optimistic. You're being very hopeful. And it's inspiring, just not to me. Bungie's Destiny.
Bungie's Destiny. Damn, bro. I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens. I think a delay is at least a delay is inevitable. But as it comes to Bungie, I think it's kind of up in the air right now. We'll see what happens in the next year, but it's not looking good.
Definitely not looking good. All right. I mean, that's literally all the news. We made it. We've done it.
We did it. Yeah, no, that was a lot.
It was a lot to get through.
Yeah, that's what happens when we miss a week. But
I know.
we'll try not to do that too often in the future.
Yeah.
Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, you can like and subscribe. Also, you can comment and interact with us, because we like all that interaction, and we try to interact with our audience and comment and reply and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Also,
yell at me.
Yeah, come yell at Brother Zay for wanting to close Bungie down prematurely. But you could also support us by supporting our sponsors, which is W Energy, NordVPN, and Starforge PCs. All the links will be in the description. You can check that out. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcasting app, you can rate us and share us around, because we want more listeners so we can grow our fan base and interact with more people, because that's ultimately what we want to do. That'll do it for us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace out.